All right, we are live. Everybody, thanks for joining ArmTalk. It's your boy, Jody Williams. And today we're going to talk about the WAL recap. And you know what? Because we got so much to talk about, I cannot do this show alone. I had to go get me a special guest. So, guys, co-host of Hand Control Worldwide, I give you Mr. Technician Jon Brown. Jon, how you doing?
What's up?
Thanks for joining the show, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
It's been too long since I did any kind of podcast. I had to do one,
Oh, exactly. But so here's the thing. So, WAL recap, okay? And there's so much to talk about. I say we start talking with Dave Chafee and Krasimir. And the one thing I noticed was that Krasi came in kind of thin than normal. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, I was just kind of disappointed that they didn't really highlight that match to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, two amazing athletes just in general. Like, Dave is such a respected dude. Obviously, at any given time could be the very best right hand on the planet. And then Krasi's just done everything.
Right.
Incredible. And for some reason, it's this undercard thing, which was just kind of bizarre to me. But I'm happy that Krasi got in there and tried, just because, man, if you can do anything with Dave Chafee, you're a stud suddenly.
Right.
If you even give him a little bit of a trouble, you're one of the men now. So he kind of did give him a little bit of trouble. He slowed him down a little bit, nothing too crazy, but I mean enough to where I think people kind of understand, or they really should, that Krasimir is unbelievably strong.
Now, do you think him losing all that weight or power would not kind of made him look vulnerable to Dave at some point?
Well, yeah, I think anytime you lose weight and you have to pull Dave Chafee at the same time, I don't think that's a great idea. Dave's just too damn big. I think you put somebody, Marcio versus Krasimir,
Right.
I think is crazy good match.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the things I was looking. I'm thinking, okay, he's a little bit out of his league now. Maybe 3-4 years ago, he might have been right up there. But the Krasimir we know now, I don't think he's out of his league right now, because he lost so much weight. And when you lose weight, and some of these arm wrestlers need to understand, you lose a lot of power that comes with it also.
Yeah, and the difference between heavyweight and super heavyweight, I think you kind of saw that with those two, and I think you also kind of saw it with Matt Mask and Jerry.
Right.
We can touch on that whenever, but I think it's just you kind of start to see these guys who are 300 plus pounds and they're that all day long. And then there's these guys who are stuffing themselves to get up to 250, 260. That's, those smaller guys, they're going to have their days where they do really well, but that's a lot to overcome when you're a true super heavyweight.
I think, and I hate to use Devin Larratt and Michael Todd, and we'll get to those guys later in the show. They a lot of players want to mimic them, like, well, I got to be as big as possible, as strong as possible. I'm going to do Michael Todd. If I want to be lean and still strong, but yet have all the steam to outlast anybody, then I'm going to go the Devin Larratt style. So you see people kind of going up and down and trying to figure out what they really want to do. So it was always interesting.
Well, I think people forget, one of the things that makes somebody elite is that they pull the exact way that they pull. Like, Devin doesn't pull like Jon Brown. Jon Brown does not pull like Dave Chafee. Whatever brought them to the dance, they kind of have to stick with it a little bit. And when you start to deviate from that is when you start to see somebody's style that they've built over 10 years of being at that high level. Because a lot of times these guys don't have great success until they're at that level for a little while, because then they kind of grow into their own group.
Exactly.
When they start to change that, it kind of makes everything else kind of tumble. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Once that one falls over, it keeps going until they kind of figure out how to put those things back up.
And I was concerned until after the first match, actually. Here's Dave. He's coming off that neck injury he had. And I was grinding my teeth. I'm thinking, okay, the last thing we need, because Dave is a great guy, great puller. And who would have, think if a healthy Dave Chafee would have been healthy when this WO series started, then maybe, his name would have been up there where we could have saw a Devin Larratt, Dave Chafee collision course. But, much to our chagrin, he was injured. But that first match, it was like he never left.
No, yeah, and I think this year, I really hope this anyway. The WAL, I really hope they were just trying to make fun, exciting matches that were just kind of, they didn't really make a lot of sense in terms of how the structure went and who they used and how often they used certain people. I think they really should have come out and said, if this was the case, that, hey guys, we're just having fun this year. We'll let the rankings sort themselves out later.
Right.
Because they use, and I get that they have favorites, and they kind of should. Because if you have somebody who is willing to participate, who says that the WAL is great and is happy to be there, then you should use that guy a lot. Like, you want people that you like around you, so of course they want those guys.
Right.
You look at Matt Mask, and I felt kind of bad for Matt, and I'm sure he doesn't want me feeling bad for him. But this dude got, how many injuries did he get this year?
There was a pec. I think there was a thigh injury along with the dislocated fingers. It was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, if you break your toys, you don't get new ones a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You use one guy, you use somebody once, and you use the other guy 4 times in a year. Eventually, that guy's going to get injured, and what's going to bring him back other than him? Like, it's not like, this isn't the UFC. This isn't something where you get injured, you get, the UFC gives you doctors to get looked at. WL is not going to give you a doctor to get looked at. You just got to figure it out yourself. They should, the health of the puller has to be kind of put into place too, and that didn't help with the lack of structure in terms of when someone lost, that they went against another guy who lost.
Right.
There was guys that lost, a bunch of times in a row, and they just kept bringing them back, which is great because everybody wants to participate. But in terms of rankings, in terms of making any sense, in terms of building, I don't really see what it did.
Well, I never agreed after Michael Todd and Jerry pulled, and yet, I think Todd broke his hand or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was smart to bring him back so soon to take on Martial. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Like you said, you play around your toys, they're going to get broken. They won't be as good as they were the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and, I think they really missed a good opportunity this year to line up Todd Hutchings versus Devin.
Oh, can you imagine the hoopla if that were to happen?
Well, yeah, I can, because neither one of them lost.
Right.
No offense to Michael Todd, because Michael Todd got the job done, and he's phenomenal, and he's always game and all that stuff. All that, all good stuff for Michael Todd.
Yeah.
But why did the guy who took a loss got to the final?
And
Todd was undefeated.
And that was the point Jerry Cadwell was making. Even after his match with Matt Mass, he even said, he's like, yeah, I thought, I should have been in the final. Which, if they were going by a bracket system, then yeah. But if not, like I said, I don't know if they were pulling names out of a hat. They were throwing darts, and they kind of just said, okay, we're going to match these guys up. Because
right.
I would have loved to see, Michael Todd and Matt Mass, just because we've never seen that before.
Yeah, that would have made a lot of sense. And Jerry shouldn't have been in the final either, because he took a loss.
Right. So, who do you put? If Dave Chaffee would have been healthy enough, I'm sure he would have made his way up there. That's just my opinion. But, like I said, who knows?
Just relax with the rankings. We'll figure it out. Like, we're going to have fun. And everybody would have been kind of like, okay, cool, we'll just have fun.
And Carl Stanley says all he knows is that there might be a left hand next year. So, and who knows what next year might bring. It might be a left-handed match. But, that goes without saying. But anyway, so there's a lot to get to. I see one of my favorite female pullers are on, Lori Cole. So let's talk about the women's battle royal, or what they call battle royale, So first up, we have Michelle Dugan and Victoria Carlson. What'd you make about that match?
I think Michelle just looked really good. She's very, very strong. I think everybody kind of knows that and has known that. But she's really has this groove that's really, really good too. Like, it's a really nice high top roll.
Right.
But she just, it was just good control. It was not much, real good clean arm wrestling. I think the women put on a better show than everybody else, to be honest with you, in terms of what we view the sport as, in terms of a sport, not just entertainment.
Right. I thought, Michelle was just overpowered as far as hand control. She could have took Victoria anywhere she wanted to go, and it was just like, look, I got you. Wherever I want to take you, that's where you're going, and that's that. You know what I mean? So, kudos to her. And there was something to be said. There was a couple women Okay, there were 4 women, right? And there was a couple of them that had no record. I mean, we're talking 0-0 WAL, and I'm like, and they're in the battle royal. I'm thinking there was a couple ladies, in mind, Angela, Christina Rose for one, and then what's her name? Faria. God, I forgot her first name. I'm thinking they did damage their first time out and never got a call back. Now, I don't know if that was a decision by the powers that be, but what I do know is that it would have been interesting to have those 2 in there replacing Carlson and the
Bulgaria.
Yeah, so what did you think of that?
No, I agree. I mean, it kind of goes back to that whole thing. If you have people who are willing participants and they're like really into what you're doing, you should give those people calls first.
Right.
I believe that to be true. Angela definitely deserved to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 45-minute conversation on the phone with her a couple weeks ago, and, we kind of talked privately, and she's like, well, she didn't really want to get into it, but she felt that she probably should have been there, but I said, okay, how about this? Since you're not going to be there, just focus on Worlds and then just go from there, because I'm sure that one match you had, no one's going to forget. I mean, she pretty much, took it to Tamara Mitz, and Tamara Mitz is not a slouch, and the way she convincingly beat her, I mean, I had to, raise some eyebrows and go, hey, let's not forget about her. So hopefully next year she'll get a chance,
Yeah, and to be honest with you, she's going to WAF. She should focus on that. That's a big mountain.
Yeah. And then the other semifinal was Petrova and Fia Ryzik. And again, here's Petrova, 0-0 record. And before I get into that match, I always thought you got 3 pullers that were involved in the 406 format, and they had a 0-0 record, and not one of them had a victory. So it made me, I think Petrova did have 1 victory, but it made me seem that, okay, this is a lot different than like a Vendetta in Vegas. It's a lot different than, Worlds competition. We're talking the elbow pads are a lot longer. The setup is a little bit different. So I saw Krasimir, I think he kind of struggled aside from the weight difference. You can tell he wasn't really comfortable. So I kind of saw that with some of the ladies too.
Yeah, especially with Krasi. He needs to learn how to cheat better. Especially you can just get away with so much more.
Right.
He's very, the European / WAF and PAL, which is like super, super strict with these elbow pads that are like wooden blocks,
Yeah.
Even just the pads themselves, how they're built, lean, you can just get away with so much more.
Yeah.
And if you're not quite used to it, you just don't take advantage of what you have, the equipment that you have. And I thought Fia really had the worst draw out of everybody. I really do, because that girl was tough. That Bulgarian girl was tough. And she even got a win.
That hit she had, because, Fia was just, speed. I'm going to try to pin her to the mat. And when she got into the strap that first match and she kind of got a hold and turned her in, I was like, oh, Fia's in trouble. And then what makes her a champion, what makes her real good at what she does, she made the adjustments and then she never looked back.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, the Swedes, especially in the female division, they're just a touch better. They're just a touch better in terms of arm wrestling. And there are other women out there who might be stronger, but in terms of how to arm wrestling ability, in the female division, the Swedes are just a touch above.
Well,
they've just been doing it at a higher level for a very, very long time.
When you got Fia Ryzik, you got Sarah Backman, or I should say,
Anderson started all that shit.
Right. I mean, Erica Anderson, when you have all those ladies there, who's setting the tone and it just trickles down, it's kind of scary, but in a good way. So you hope, and Lori Cole made a comment, how come Sarah Backman wasn't involved? I think Sarah Rotunda now. I think next year she'll be making her way in there because she was in the audience the other night. So it was good to see her, there. And, she was in the corner of Fia. So it was kind of good to see that Swedish connection one more time, just for the match. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and Sarah's unbelievably good, so I think she'd be the one to beat if she steps into that realm. I think.
Oh, no doubt.
I don't know who's going to stop her.
No doubt. So Michelle wins, Fia wins, and now they meet for the championship. And from what I saw, I thought Michelle would have did a lot more. with her power, her structure. I thought she would have did a lot more, but I didn't see it. I don't know what happened.
Well, you just have it's kind of going back to what I said, where these Swedes, they're just better arm wrestlers. Fia is extremely strong. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you can't do what she does without being very strong.
Right.
But she knows exactly where to put that pressure. Exactly where to. Not kind of where to put it. She just knows exactly where to put it. And it's just because they've been doing it in the female division for a long time. And they've had a bunch of really great female arm wrestlers around each other, too. That's a big deal. You can go to training. You can train with guys and do all this stuff. And that's great. But when you have other females to push you further, it's just like having your boys at the gym. You always do a little bit more when it's a little friendly competition going on. And when the girls get together in Sweden and train, it's the same exact thing. They just know exactly how. They're just excellent technicians, and they have good power on top of it. And once Fia gets control, she's incredibly good.
And Lori Cole says she's a brilliant puller, which is true. I thought had Dugan not get separated, she might have had an outside chance. But it just seemed in the strap.
Fia's hand was just way too good. Her hand was just so balanced.
Right.
In terms of just slightly wrist curled, slightly pronated, just not too much, just enough to kind of stall it in the center. Just incredible. Just great balance.
Well, I'll tell you what, next year it's going to be interesting. You put her in the mix, so now the target's on her back. Then, you think Angelita Christina Rose will still be there. Tatiana Faria will be there.
Yeah. Tough.
Sarah Rotunda might be up in there. So you never know. The women's division is looking pretty nice next year, depending on what WAL does.
Yeah, I mean, if you put all those girls in the mix, you have some serious problems. Because they can all really arm wrestle.
And I'm hoping some of the ladies, in our country say, look, you take notes. I mean, this is if women want to, evolve, this is what it's all about. Because Backman, she's living in the States now. So, it'd be nice to go down to Florida, pay her a visit, pick her brain a little bit. I'm pretty sure she's not going to say no. But, it'll be interesting to see if people will actually climb that olive branch and go, hey, teach me what you know, or what kind of tips, can you give me, and all that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, if female arm wrestlers in the U.S. need any motivation, I think they have it now.
Right.
I think so.
Oh, we have a William Smallwood says, so who do I have to beat to get on stage? Hell, John, from the way I was looking at things, you and I could have went up there and made a fool of ourselves and got on TV. But, I'm not sure what they were looking. I mean, I'm pretty sure the only reason why it was on national TV because Vince McMahon wasn't producing it. But, much to my chagrin, let's stick to the Battle Royal and let's get to the lightweight, because you had Max Taubman, Jeff Hale, Jamie Sheldon, Tom Holland. So let's get to the Max Taubman, Jeff Hale, Max. What'd you think about that?
I think when Jeff first came back into the game, I don't think he was quite as sharp as he was when he left.
Right.
And I think he's really starting to get sharp again. That's what I think. And I think Jeff his biggest weapon isn't his body. Even though he is incredibly balanced, he can top roll, he can press, he can hook, he can do everything he wants, but he's supremely confident in all those things too.
Right.
You cannot get Jeff in enough trouble to make him doubt himself, and he knows exactly how to play the game that they're asking him to play, because he did it with Neil for so long.
Oh, it was like coming home. I think with that first match, he was kind of rusty with Sam. I think because, he just became him and his wife became brand new parents now, so he was doing the family thing for a while. And then to come back into sport at this level is kind of like, okay, I mean, I know as far as the theatrics, and I hate to say that word, but I know with the theatrics,
that's what it is.
He's one of the best, but, it's not like, it's like going to the gym, okay? You can't just walk in there and throw a 485 without doing a few warm-up sets. It's the same thing. You can't just jump in there and go, oh, okay, I took a few months off, I can go ahead and get it again off the first try. It doesn't work that way. So, but, I thought that Jeff's mind games did what he always did. He had Max to where Max was thinking a lot, and... Still there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So I was saying Max Tobin just looked almost shell-shocked at times. I mean, with the mind game with Jeff Hale.
Well, I mean, no offense to Max, but Jeff was just better. That's just all there is to it. And it's not an easy place to be when you're in front of a bunch of people and you got cameras on you and stuff, and there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Not the easiest thing in the world. Nothing, not the end of the world, but in that moment, it can kind of feel like that. It's just Jeff was just better. Jeff's, no shame in that at all.
Right. But I mean, I'm glad to see him get that win because the one thing I don't want to see personally is a crushed Jeff Hale. I mean, he's been doing this for so long that it's like Barboza, and we'll get to him later on. But when you see Barboza, it just seemed like something wasn't right with him the first, 2 times he came on the stage. So with Jeff, it was more like, okay, once he gets his rhythm, once the Hellraiser alter ego comes out, then it's like, okay, he's on now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeff is a good enough athlete, and he's built a really good foundation from his old training. He takes a long time off. He's still super dangerous to 95% of people.
Right.
It's just when he came back, I think that upper 5% is what Sam belongs to.
Yeah.
I just think it was a bad timing to have that hard of a match. And I honestly think that people just don't understand how good Sam Harris is yet, which is, I don't know what else he has to do, but that dude is ridiculous strong. We won't get, I think we'll touch base on that later, but
yeah.
Jeff was just better than Max. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, taking nothing away from Max because his first time out, he beat Cobra Rhodes. And I'm not saying, and it's not that, Cobra, he was, we all knew prior to that match, he just came off a AAA National, so he never came in really 100%. But still, if you can beat a caliber of Cobra Rhodes, that's saying something, But now you look at it's 2 different animals, Cobra pulls different, a lot more than Jeff Hale, so you got to kind of prepare yourself for that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and Jeff can. The thing is that Jeff can do 5 different things too, so it's really tough to beat him by the time he figures out how to beat you.
Right. Well, CJ Twine says Sam is a beast, and William Smallwood said, I think this is a question for you and I. He said, Sam Harris, Jeff Hale, who you got? Well, didn't they pull already?
Yeah, it's been done, buddy.
Yeah.
Sam did it.
Exactly. And now Jeff's getting this. I want to see Sam Harris and, Justin Bishop. But maybe it's 2 different weight classes, and, I don't know, but we'll get to that. So, Jamie Sheldon and Tom Holland. What do you think about those 2? Thoughts?
I mean, Jamie's very good, and Jamie's been looking really, really good lately. Tom is stubborn. And what I mean by that is that it's really tough to get around Tom. And he's kind of like, I don't know if you remember Kevin Baumgart. You remember Kevin?
Yeah, he's like 6'4", right?
Right. He's built just like Tom. He's built just like him. And it's this big, long, skinny guy who can hook unbelievably well, right? It's like it's the exact opposite thing you'd think of. So it's really tough to get around Tom. So you almost have no choice but to go through him.
Right.
And not an easy task to do, and I think that's the only choice that Jamie really had. And, I think Tom does what Jamie does, but just a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I also think that Tom, with a few small adjustments, is the guy to beat in that whole class.
I was impressed with I think it was the first match, and on the go, Tom hits, but Jamie catches a hit, and I'm thinking, oh boy, it's on now. But Jamie couldn't quite finish, and there's something to be said about these semifinal matches because they're best of 2. So when you're down 0-1, then it's like it changes your whole game plan in a sense to where, okay, now I got to go with my best move just to tie the thing up. I have to go to my bread and butter. You know what I mean?
Well, it definitely introduces like this big time urgency, right? You don't have a whole lot of time to work.
Yeah.
Best 2 out of 3, but that's why I don't really like these 4-man or 4-athlete battle royal. I don't like them because you never really find out who the best guy is. Sometimes you find out who had the least wars.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm glad you brought that up. Didn't we just have a UAO one with Jeff Dobb and Eric Waffel, Hoffman, and Robbie Topi, and the guy that walks out the winner was the guy that no one really picked.
Right.
So it all depends on matchups. Who do you draw first? Who do you draw second? Do you go first? Do you go second? So, I mean, it all, because I think some of the announcers talked about it where, with these semifinals, if you're the first match and you win, you're in good hands because the guy that pulls the second time in the semifinal, if he wins, he's right back up there. Mm-hmm. So it does play a role in that.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and I don't think people should not do them. It's just like tournaments, no different.
Yeah.
If you want to find out who the best guy in that group of four, you're not going to always find it. You're probably not going to find it. You have like a 25% chance of finding it, because honestly, a lot of times the third best guy wins.
Yeah.
Because if you would line it up incorrectly and you have 1 versus 2 and 3 versus 4, 1 and 2 beat the hell out of each other, and then don't come into the finals worth a damn.
I tell you what, John, I was involved in a 16-man round, round robin deal back in 2012 in California, and it wasn't a weight class, it was anybody. So I had people like Kenny Hughes, Luke Kent, Brandon Dye. I mean, it was a who's who, and it was like it was crazy. And yeah, when I woke up the next day, I was hurting bad. But yeah, I mean, it's a stamina, sport. So you may or may not even find that, but with Tom, I just thought he was a little bit too much for Jamie, but I was impressed with Jamie over the season. I think he's just going to get stronger and get more motivated to come back next year if he gets the call.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Jamie too. I was very impressed with how his matches with Jeff went, because I thought they were a bit further away than they really were, and then they pulled, and I was pretty shocked. I thought, and I shouldn't say I was shocked. I was more shocked before that when I saw some of the videos of Jamie beating Corey Miller.
Right.
I thought that impressed me more than anything, I think, this year with him. But obviously he's on the right path. That's for damn sure.
Oh, you'll be hearing a lot more from Mr. Nat Fitz. So I'm telling you, that guy is going to be doing some good things. So now you got the final. You got Jeff Hale and Tom Holland. And before I get into all this, so my question is, you got the lightweight battle royal, right? So you had Taubin, Hale, Holland, and Sheldon. But then you also had the lightweight championship round. I'm trying to figure out how does that work for next year. But we can, what is your thoughts on that? Because what happens if you win the lightweight battle royal, and then all of a sudden, okay, so are you like the next person to face Sam Harris since Sam Harris, won the championship? I don't understand how that worked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't either. And does it reset? Is there actually years? Like, every other combat sport doesn't have like a yearly season, so I don't know. I don't know how they're going to continue that. I suppose it would kind of make sense if you wanted to have the guy who won the battle royal go against the champ, I suppose. I mean, there's at least some argument there. It makes some sense.
Well, hell, Ian Carnegie, here's Ian Carnegie. He said Justin Bishop should have been at 406, and he should have, but I talked to a lot of pullers, and I talked to Justin, and he was like, he got invited to a tournament cross country, like in a different part of the country. I think Mike Aiello is going to be invited too. So he was kind of doing that. So, I think he probably should have been in there and mixed it up, but he wasn't. So it is what it is. But all in all, I still think, that weight class was still, pretty good. But as far as Hale and Holland, and I'm watching that first match, and was it really a parallel pin? And, and
No.
That's been one of the topics we've all been talking all year too.
No, it was not a pin. It wasn't.
Right, and I brought it up, and I'm laughing because I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. And I didn't want to stir the pot too much because the last time I did that, it was mask and lariat, and I paused it.
Don't have an opinion, Jody. Don't have an opinion, buddy.
And I was like, I don't want to sit there and just pinpoint the referee. I don't want to sit there and drag them through the mud. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm looking at Tom Nelson and Ian Carnegie WL 401, and his wrist never even broke the plane. But it is what it is. But I didn't think it was a match. But hey, who am I to know?
It wasn't a match. And hey, I mean, it's not a perfect job, but it was not a pin. It was super high. It was super high.
You know, and it's just, I don't know. Hale seemed to be in trouble. And I'm like, all right, Jeff, you know, you're down 0-2. Okay, we need the Hellraiser. Like, we need the smack-talking Hellraiser that we all know and love. And I was wondering, I'm like, is Jeff, I don't want to say he's washed up. Never want to say that. But I was wondering, I'm like going, okay, I mean, dude, you're down 2-0. You know, I need you to dig deep. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, what was impressive to me was because Jeff kind of ran away in the second match and kind of ran underneath and got pinned. That was definitely a loss, the second match. But in the third match, when he kind of reversed it, he went straight where you'd never think he should have went. He went straight sideways, tucked into a hook, and it worked.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about before with Jeff, where his biggest strength is his confidence.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care. He's going to try something until it works. And he doesn't care what direction it is. And he'll find it.
Yeah.
And very few people would have been down 2-0 and said, I'm just going to go straight into this guy's lock. Yeah, he has good endurance. Yeah, he has a good lock. Well, I'm going to go straight into it and see what happens.
Right. And he did that, and I was like, that guy's a super badass to sit there and do what he did. I was like, that guy's a badass. Meanwhile, my training partner, Mark Prickett, wants me to get to the Luke Kent situation, and buddy, you're gonna have to be patient. I'll get to him, but I got notes here. I'm trying to go in order right now. So, but anyway, getting back to Hale, you don't want to go into a hook with Jeff Hale. I'm sorry. It just, you know, that's something you don't want to do. I think at times he took a lower grip, you know, for Tom. I mean, because Tom's 6'3", he's real lanky, so. For Jeff, he's like 5, I don't know, whatever, 7 or whatnot, 5'8". And I've noticed that with his height advantage, you know, if Tom decides to put some up pressure and load back, it doesn't make sense for Jeff to try to match that. Just grip a little lower on the go, you curl his wrist in, and then now Tom's fighting for his life. And I'm glad that, you know, Jeff finally made adjustments with that and was able to come back to, you know, what he does best. Now, it was good. I like seeing that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think those small adjustments I was talking about before with Tom, making him the guy to beat in that class, would be to be able to maintain that downward pressure with his wrist in that hook.
Yeah.
Because that's really where he got beat by Jeff was able to turn him.
Mm-hmm.
In that. If people can't turn you in a hook, you are damn near unbeatable because that guy can pull anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just he couldn't pull in that one small spot, and Jeff found it.
And like I said, I mean, and some people, once they find that weakness, they'll stick to that until you make them come out of that or you beat them, make them find somewhere else.
You know, what else does he have to do? He's down 2-0. It's like, I just won a match. Well, what am I going to do next time? I'm going to do that same thing and hope this guy can't stop me.
Well, that's the thing. If you don't hit for Jeff, you know, I mean, he was more like, I should hit. I'm like, don't go out of your game plan. Let Tom hit, and then you scoop him. When you scoop him like this, then it's like, oh, okay, well, now it's and his ball's in his court, and he's in his own playground. He wins it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely a great job to Jeff. He earned that one, that's for sure.
So what do you think about the after the match, and he calls out Luke Kent?
It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. You know?
It's already happened once, you know?
I'm watching that going, okay, well, yeah, this happened in Arm Wars, and that was in arm wrestling years, it was many, many moons ago. But, you know, both guys are pretty more polished nowadays. But still, it's just like, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing those guys, you know, lock horns. Honestly, I'd rather see Jeff Hale and Bishop, or even Bishop and Luke Kent, because now there's some smack talking about that. Yes, Bishop, I saw the video. I know you're on watching right now, so there's a lot to be said about that. But we go from the lightweight battle royal to the middleweight battle royal. And we have Frodo Hoagland against Quinlan Mendez, and we have Mike Silveras against Nicholas Nonestad. What did you think of Quinlan and Frodo?
I think Quinlan was strong as shit. I was very impressed by Quinlan. Because, you know, Frodo just looks so damn good lately. Mm-hmm. And Quinlan was right there with him. And Quinlan's been having kind of a tough time. You know, he wasn't really looking like himself for the season. And he looks so damn good. I just wish there wasn't so many weird calls and questions with the reffing. And, you know, there seem to be arguments within, like, the reffing a little bit, which I don't want to say it took it away from it, but it really, with that, we talked about before, you get two groups of guys or two matches, and one of them's getting just run through the ringer of having these wars over and over again, and then the other one has kind of a smooth sailing matches, and you don't really get a good test of the finals match.
Right, you got somebody going at 80% against somebody who's going up 65%. That's just not, it's not okay, But I was impressed with the in match one where Quinlan kind of turned. I mean, here's Froda, he's going for that prep, but then when Quinlan turned him in, I'm thinking that's when you say he's damn strong, and I was real impressed. And I think after that win with Katowski, I think it was WAL 404 or 405 or whatever. His match with Tony Katowski, that opened some huge eyes. Like for me, I was like, wow, man, because Tony is not like a thin guy. He's pretty damn strong. And to have Quinlan do what he did was just like, that's big time stuff. Oh, did we lose you again, John? Or is it me? Looks like we lost John, but so basically with Quinlan Mendez, and this dude is like, like the shit, because I saw him, and like I said, when, we lost Jon Brown, hopefully he'll come back, or maybe I have to get back to him, but hopefully, with Quinlan he comes back, but it was fun to see him, compete with Froda on that stage, so I don't know. I mean, with Froda, do you really want to lose on fouls? And, I'm sitting there going, okay, this is WAL. Nobody should be losing on fouls, but they did, and there was a couple calls that the refs made that I kind of questioned, and I wasn't sure why, but, maybe, they can have a reason for that now, so as we lost John, hopefully we can see him in a minute. So spare me, people kind of hang out with me because this is all new. Because again, this is the first time I had a guest on my show, and I'm failing horribly. So just kind of bear with me right now. Hopefully we can get John back. So I may have to, close my Skype down and call him back. So in any event, so you lose on fouls, and the whole match between Hoagland and Quinlan was just weird. You lose in match 2, you lost in a losing position, and again, we may have to go back and go, okay, what's really a losing position? Because I'm sitting there going, excuse me as I try to plug some of this stuff in. I'm trying to figure out what exactly is a losing position now, because we've seen so many times that with a losing position, it's like, is this legit? I mean, did it break the plane? What's going on? So, I don't know. It's just weird. But, John C. just texted me saying he'll be back, Lori Cole says, great show. Thank you for joining me. Again, I'm a rookie at this. I probably need to upgrade my technology stuff, But, much to my chagrin, everything is good. So, in any event, so let's talk about Michael Ciliaris, right, and Nicholas Nonestad. Now, I thought, with Nicholas being so tall, and what John pointed to earlier about, Tom Holland, Kevin Bongard, people like that, where, you're real tall, you got that real long arm, and you wonder, okay, well, is that going to be a problem? And Ciliaris, in all purposes, that guy is another one of those guys who has a great mind, plays mind games, right? And, he has his hand, strength hand, right? And it's like going, dude, I mean, he's the cream of the crop when it comes to that. When he has you control, he's the cream of the crop. And by him, controlling that hand the whole time made me wonder, okay, where was this Michael Ciliaris all year? Because there were times in some of these matches where he looked kind of sloppy. And there was one match where he looked kind of sloppy where he's off the back of the pad, and he's just trying to hit and stuff. And, where his hips was like maybe 3 feet from the table, his hips, and it didn't look right. It's like going, like, dude, what are you doing? So I don't know. I mean, hopefully, he can fix that. But I guess it doesn't matter because he won, right? So I guess that doesn't matter. So anyway, there's too much too much leverage for Ciliaris. The guy has all the angles in the world. Not alone that he looks at you like that, and he had all the hand and mind games and everything. So that was always good, Oh, my man's back. What's up, buddy? You back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Nice. Hey, Megan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, we're back. Better than ever. Oh, wait, that was your phrase, right, John?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, dude. So, the technical difficulties, I sat there and told the crowd about finishing off with Quillen Mendez and Frodo Hogan about the match 2, losing on elbow fouls, and what's an elbow foul nowadays. I'm not really sure anymore. How do you explain that?
Well, I mean, I think the elbow fouls are the same as they've always been, even in WAL. I just think the focus isn't there anymore on them.
Right.
I think there's a hierarchy, and an elbow foul is not worth as much as entertainment for them.
Right.
Which I'm not even sure is a problem or not, but they kind of need to decide if it's a problem or not.
Yeah.
I think.
And I'm
happy. I'm happy if they come out and say, hey, listen, guys, like an elbow foul is not worth a whole lot here. You're not always going to get them, and you will get them if it makes it more entertaining. Meaning, if we make you guys upset by calling a foul, we might do it just to get a reaction.
Right, and
I'm kind of cool with that.
At one time, I thought that with the elbow fouls, letting it go, it kind of made pullers sloppy because you could elbow foul, 2 times and still be in the match. I'm thinking, okay, well, does that kind of degrade the sport? But
yes,
yeah, exactly. So I was right before you got back on. I was talking to everybody about Michael Ciliaris and Nicholas Nonestad, and so I was wondering, would Michael struggle with that, Kevin Bongard type frame of Nonestad? And it seems like that. Okay, Michael has so much hand control and so much leverage in that entire match. It just seemed like Nicholas just seemed like an amateur at that point.
Yeah, well, Michael's hand is incredible. It's huge, strong. He can kind of do whatever he wants with it. I just pulled him a little bit at an event here in Connecticut, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Just kind of gripped up and played around. We didn't pull right hand, we just pulled left.
Right.
And it's just, I've trained with him over the years multiple times, and his control is so good. And then with Nicholas, he was so committed to his real tucked in, drop wristed strap game.
Yeah.
That if you can't break out of that, it's kind of tough to come back.
Yeah.
It's a very committed move. And committed moves are tough because if you commit 100% towards something and it doesn't work, it's very hard to switch gears.
Yeah.
And by the time it comes to switch, Michael's already a mile on his side of the table, just taking it like he should be, taking everything and just finishing it, and yeah, Michael just ate him up. I was actually pretty shocked at how he ate him up like that.
And then the championship, was Frodo Hoagland, Mike Ciliaris, and this was your perfect, styles make matches. It was the boxer versus the fighter. So you got Frodo who has stamina for days. Mike can go too, but I was telling the fans out there that there are times where Michael looks kind of sloppy, where his hips was like 3 feet from the table, and I'm like, this is not you, dude. What's going on with that? But
it's a little King's move-ish.
And I was talking about match 3, if you're counting at home. But it was just like, what are you doing? Do what you do best. Control the hand, but make sure you stay on it, because Frodo, he can get here and just hang out for days, and then come back and press down, just like a Jerry Caderet and so forth. But, if you bust him out and make sure you're on his fingers, then he's not as dangerous. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And, that's... Frodo has great endurance, but, man, you have to think that Quinlan took a big piece out of him.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
But one thing I will say for Mike is that you really see this thing that is reared its head a little bit in the Matt Mask and Jerry match, too.
Right.
Where this top roll to press transition is super dangerous against these guys who don't need their hand.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary.
It's a rare move these days.
So, kudos for Ciliaris for pulling out the victory. He earned it, So now we go to the championship matches. So now we go to the middleweight. And we had a Storm Chilito and RVJ, and it just seemed just to be, on paper, it looked great. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way during the match. What's your take from that?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm pretty close with Rob. Robbie physically doesn't even have a clue on how good he is. He doesn't know.
Right.
He's a freak. And everybody will tell you he's a freak. Gigantic, strong hands, super, he has everything you could ever want in a body, but, every once in a while he just gets pushed out of his own mind, where it's not a confidence thing, but he just has a real tough time lining up what he needs to do.
Right.
Kind of pushes him out of his groove a little bit. And one of his biggest hang-ups was always the straps. And it wasn't that he can't pull on the strap, it's that he was too prideful to pull on the strap.
Yeah, he hated the straps a while back, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I'll put a lot of money on it. Vision hates the strap still. He just knows he has to do it.
Right.
But I've worked with Robbie a lot in the straps. And he gets it. He understands it, but he doesn't practice it a lot because he just doesn't. His pride got in the way.
Right.
And, it seemed to me, by listening to that post-fight interview, we'll call it that he's kind of understood it and kind of come to peace with it. That it's a part of the game, and there's no shame in being good at everything.
And you know what? I mean, that guy. I wish I had his hand or bicep or something, but that guy has so much hand control against Storm that Storm couldn't generate any kind of side pressure. He couldn't generate any kind of up pressure, down pressure, anybody's pressure. He just couldn't do anything. Rob controlled him from point A to point B, and it was interesting to see between the matches how everyone goes back to their respective corners, okay, and Rob is just on fire doing what Rob does, playing to the crowd. Meanwhile, Storm's over there. He has his buddy Sam Harris in the corner. Then you had Todd Hutchins come over there and go, look, you got to do this, you got to do that. And he even brought Brent Rockers out of the stand and kind of, mimic him, hey, this is what you need to do. So I thought that was interesting. But even then, after all that, I'm sorry, but if you're a puller and you got Sam Harris and Todd Hutchins talking to you in your corner, you would think, okay, well, I can get my act together. I can pull a victory out of this one. I got some of the best guys in my corner talking it up to me. And you go back and it still didn't matter. That has to be crushing.
Well, it is, but, you got to realize, too, the advice that Sam is going to give Storm is the advice that Sam would do. And Todd's going to give Storm the advice that Todd would do.
Yeah.
And Todd's just going to say, why don't you just smash him straight sideways? And it's like, well, yeah, Todd, if I were Todd Hutchins, that's what they'd do.
Not everybody has that side pressure you got, Todd.
Right. So everybody goes, well, why don't you just do this? Because that's what I would do. And it's like, well, we don't all have the same tools. So unless those guys were trained together for 8 weeks,
yeah,
kind of really, drilled it in. There's really, if anything, that kind of advice, that an overload of advice is almost a bad thing.
Right.
Because it can really kind of distract you from what were you going to do in the first place? What are your instincts?
Yeah.
Because your instincts are faster than what you can think about.
And
while the other guy is so damn confident in riding this high of what already worked, he's just going to, you're going to have to do something pretty special to stop that guy.
And I think, this goes without saying with RVJ, I really think this, I'm so glad he did win. Nothing against, Storm, but I think he's glad because I think it was some kind of validation. Because for so long, somebody like Todd Hutchins, was always a thorn in his side. He was always the guy standing in between him and the hammer. And I think now that Todd decided, to go up in weight class or whatever, he finally got that chance, got the hammer that he's been, craving for so long. He finally got it. And it was validation. And so I'm real happy that he finally got a chance to taste that, reach for that brass ring and get that hammer. I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, because like I said, Rob is Rob doesn't understand how good he is, really. I mean, he is that talented. And, you know, when it came to guys who gave Todd trouble, nobody gave Todd trouble like him.
Right.
Nobody. Just because that hand is just so damn dominant. But, yeah, it's always good to see him win, especially when it's your friend, you know.
Right. Well, I tell you what, boys and girls, we're going to move on to the light heavyweight championship. Everybody wants to talk about that. You know, Luke Kent, Sam Harris, oh my God, okay? Oh my God. Okay, this is what everyone wants to hear me say, right? So Mark Prickett, if you're out there, this is what you want to hear, how I thought Luke Kent and Sam Harris was. Okay, first things first. John, when I got into the sport in 2011, okay, and, you know, I got into a strap match or two, a buckle was never an issue. And now it's probably the more important thing than ever. So when Luke comes out saying, hey, we never flip a coin for the buckle, I'm thinking, did there something happen backstage that we don't know about, you know? And I never understood anybody who came out and said, well, we need to flip for it. I never understood that. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, you know, I've seen that happen, and I don't mind it. I do not mind if Luke comes out and says, I want to flip from my side of the table. But what you don't ever do, and this doesn't make any sense anyway, is you don't grip up. They say, ready, go. You slip, and then you say, I want to flip for the table. Dude, you're already on your side. Like, right. We're in the middle of the, you don't switch refs out in the middle of the match. You don't switch sides of the table during the match.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to walk out there to begin with and say, I want my side of the table, we'll flip for it right now, then I have no problem with you. But one, stop concerning yourself so much with the buckle. And two, we switch every round.
Right. So if
it go well, to get it next time.
So let's just say, let's use this as like the NBA playoffs, right? Back in the day where their first round was a best-of-5 series. So if I'm reading this right, because Luke had the buckle on the side in match 1, which meant game 5 was going to be on the road, meaning the buckle was going to be on his side, and Sam would have the advantage. So at some point, to win, you have to win with the buckle on your side if all matches go to the strap. I mean, that's the bottom line. So at some point, you got to find a way to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and with the Ferris strap, I'm telling you right now, if you have a disadvantage with the buckle on your hand in the Ferris strap, it is your fault.
Right.
Period. It was a difference that was noticeable outside of the Ferris strap. There's ways around that too, but it was a noticeable difference. With the Ferris strap, it is your fault if you don't get a good setup.
Right.
It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is.
In the way people maneuver their hands in the strap anyway, I mean, it's like it's kind of hard not to. But I don't think Luke his mind was in it to begin with. I mean, he came out, yeah, I mean, and we don't know if he was talking it up, you know, just because it's part of the show. Was he being serious? He was lipping off at some in the crowd and, you know, in the stand-ins, you know, in the audience and stuff. So, I mean, it seemed like he was more in tune with that than the actual match itself. And I was like, dude, Luke, I mean, and this is where I can't, you know, make heads or tails because, number one, you know, WAL has been the showcase of, I don't know, almost reality TV in a sense, you know. But at the same time, you know, we've seen this kind of action from Luke before, whether it be Arm Wars against, you know, Anthony Snook or Jeff Hale, or whether he got pissed off at a WAL regional and he destroyed his trophies and did the unthinkable to it also. So I couldn't understand where he was coming from. You know what I mean?
Well, I saw him make some comment. I think it might have been on a Tom Nelson post. I can't remember today. But he'd made some comment that basically said the funny thing about him getting trashed is that people think it's real.
Right.
Which is interesting. So let's just go ahead and go along with that for a minute, which I only half believe.
Yeah.
So let's just say that the WAL approached Luke and said, hey, you know that stuff you've been doing for years? We want you to do that more. That's a huge, in my opinion anyway, that's a huge mistake, Luke. Don't do that because the WAL will not be around forever, but your reputation will be.
Yeah.
This is very important because I've talked to Luke plenty of times. I'm sure you have too. I like Luke.
Yeah.
Luke's a good dude. He's a good dude. But when you do stuff like this, it ruins your reputation. And when the WAL goes away and your reputation's still there, you're going to regret some things. And let's just keep going with that. And let's go back to where we thought, which is really, this has been kind of a problematic thing for a while, outside of the WAL.
Right.
So let's just go ahead, we can go with that. And Luke wants to be a part of this group of guys, which we all do. We all want to be part of this group of guys where you're just a killer.
Yeah.
We all want to be there. A lot of us are there already. But the thing is, like, if you want to be a killer in any sport, in any kind of way of life, you have to understand there's other killers around you.
Yeah.
And they can kill you. And sometimes you just got to get that death out of your. You just got to take the death, man.
Right.
Sometimes there's just nothing you can do. And another killer just like you that came up, and when you were talking a bunch of shit, when you were killing that dude, just like you should have, someone's gonna do that to you one day, and you just gotta take it, man.
There's always gonna be somebody waiting to beat your ass. I mean, that's what I grew up with my grandfather, and people got to realize two things. One, if you're trying to get other people involved in our sport, that right there is not the way to do it. You're going to shy everyone away, right? And Michael Todd chimes in. He goes, WAL never ever scripts conversations or matches to insinuate that there's terrible falsehood. These men and women work their asses off to compete and win, and which is good. But and here goes to my second point. You don't want to falsify that to where sometime, Dick or Harry's outside. What's arm wrestling about? Do you guys lose and piss off and whine and throw a fit when you walk off stage, mate? No, I mean, but you're also in a sport where it's one-on-one. This ain't football or basketball, whereas, hey, I threw for 4 touchdowns, but we still lost. It's a team aspect. This is one-on-one. So you already know going into a sport like ours that somebody's coming out a loser, And sometimes you got it. I've eaten many bowls of crow in my day with this sport, but I keep coming back because I want to get better, and I love it. I know I'm not afraid to get beat. Does it suck? Yeah, but at the same time, it's part of sport. I know it. I dust myself off, get back on the horse, go back to the gym, look at the blueprints, readjust some things, and I'm back at it again. And not throw a fit and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just the simple. It's what goes up must come down.
Right.
Everybody climbed the ladder at some point. So what's to make you think that there's not 10 other guys climbing the ladder along with you that are going to pass you someday? It's just what it is. And the thing is, like you said, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose, and that's fine. We accept those terms. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you got to accept those 50-50 terms exactly as they are. It's 50-50. So if you win and you want to go off and yell and scream and give a good show to the people, feel free to do that. But when someone does that to you, you just kind of got to take it.
Not to mention, Luke has done that to people over the years countless times.
As he should. It's no problem. It's just when it happens to you, you just got to take it. And, to make that claim of, the WAL wants characters and this and that, listen, man, if that's the case, then you should not be saying that anyway. Michael's right when he says, nothing's scripted, and that's kind of a disgrace or whatever the way he put it, which is, it's bad to say that about people. He's 100% right. Luke should not be saying that.
Right.
Even if the WAL kind of nudge, wink, wink, we want characters, Luke, he should keep that to himself if that's the case.
Yeah.
And if anything, if you're going to act that way, it's on you. And like I said, we all like Luke. It's just like, dude, listen, being part of that group is also taking your ass whippings when they come.
Yeah. Oh, and to correct you, I stand corrected. That was Rebecca Todd on there, not Michael. She was using Michael's phone, but sorry, Rebecca. But yeah, so I hope, and Sam Harris, like you said before, I don't think people know, well, Dave Morocco might know, how strong and how good he is. I mean, the guy is like unbelievably strong. You look at the guy, you think the guy works at a toy store. That guy is fucking so strong, it's not even funny.
Yeah, and I remember Sam coming to his first tournaments. I remember him very, very well. He was always very good.
Yeah.
But he was always one-dimensional, very, very fast and enjoyed competing. But to see where he's come along in terms of he's so complete now.
Yeah.
He is so, good luck trying to hook him, good luck trying to top roll him. It's really good to see because he's a really solid dude, too. He's a real good guy.
Good. and that'll put a cap on the championships. Now we got 3 more matches left, and this is where, okay, now all the undercards are done. Now we're starting getting to the main event, matches. And so we're going to start things off with, I think, in my opinion, might be the best match, series of the actual card. Todd Hutchings and Marcio Barboza.
Yeah.
Sound off, Mr. Brown.
Oh, well, I think I texted Josh Grant in the middle of that match saying, is Todd Hutchings the strongest person on the planet? To be able to put that kind of pressure on Marcio's arm in that position when Marcio has the position he had,
yeah,
I can't even imagine that kind of horsepower.
Right.
That is unbelievable side pressure, and that just makes me think, how strong is Rustam Babayev?
Yeah, to put Todd down like it was nothing.
Right, and maybe Todd wasn't quite prepared like he is today, but geez, man, Marcio having offensive position and it doesn't really matter is super scary.
Exactly, and like Dan Moss on here said, his side pressure is unreal. And I'm sitting up here going, every time I watch Todd Hutchings' match, it makes me want to go in my garage, get my cables, on the pulley system and just do side pressure over and over. It doesn't work that way, but, you see where I'm getting at. But I watched the first match, I'm thinking, come on, Marcio. And Marcio's one of those guys you just, you want good things to happen. And, he didn't do good his previous 2 matches. Whether it be Matt Mask or Michael Todd, he didn't do too well. And it was like, okay, something's got to give. Come on, Marcio. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, if you can beat Todd on the go, you have a chance.
Yep.
Todd Hutchings fighting from here rather than here is a big difference, and if you can make him, fight where he's halfway to the pin pad, then he has to grind that much more just to get back to center, then continue. And, on that one match, I think it was the second match, maybe third match, and, he pinned him. I was like, wow, now we got something going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think people don't realize, probably just because a lot of the guys who are watching all this stuff nowadays haven't been in the sport, quite as long as I have. I haven't been in that long, but they pulled back in 2006.
Oh, yeah.
Best of 5.
Yeah.
At 215 pounds. And so they kind of done this already. And it went kind of the opposite of how people thought it was going to. But everybody thought that Marcio would win early on and then Todd would kind of just outlast him. And back then, Todd won the first 2 matches, and then Marcio beat him 3 times in a row.
Right.
So they kind of had this history. So, you fast forward 12 years, they're 2 different guys, but, there's always a little bit of peace. There's always a bit in there that's the same, right? So I had a feeling that even though Todd was winning, I think in the back of his mind, he kind of knew, okay, just because I'm winning doesn't mean that this guy's done. Marcio is as good an arm wrestler as anybody on the planet.
Yeah.
You can never take your foot off the gas with that guy.
And I tell you what, it was interesting to see when Marcio went up 2-1, the look on Todd's face going back to his corner.
Yeah.
It was weird. It's a look you never hardly see from Todd. Yeah. Even when he pulled Rostam, you didn't really see it. It was kind of like he had a smirk like, yeah, today's is not my day. And kind of smirked it off and finished it up. But with Marcio, it was like, Todd was just like, the fuck is going on? That's what I got out of it,
Well, it's tough when you know you can beat him. You just aren't beating him.
Yeah.
I think with Rustam, I think he kind of went, well, shit. I think if I grabbed on with the other hand, it wouldn't matter. I think he just knew that there was nothing he was going to be able to do about it. But with Marcio, when you win that first match, you go, okay, I can win. It's just right now, for whatever reason, when they say go, I can't win.
Right.
So that's frustrating, is when you know you're in the match, but you're kind of out of the match.
Anytime you see Todd Hutchings, Allison, his beautiful wife, is right there, and the look on her face, I thought she was going to cry at one point, oh my God, and like Lori Cole just said, Allison looked worried. She looked like someone keyed her car. She was really just oh my God, what's going on? We're not used to being in this kind of position. You know what I mean? And, I'm just kind of going, okay, well, what can we do here? You know, is it time to, you know, dig deep? Because now we're at match 5, right? Because the elbow foul happened in match 4. So now we're at match 5. So the way I look at match 5 in any of these super match series, I think, okay, guess what? Now you got Todd Hutchings on the B side, Barbosa on the B side. Winner's going, loser, you're done for the night. That's how you got to kind of look at that kind of stuff, you know. And when I saw that, and like I said, now the Barbosa comes back because, like I said, he didn't have a good outing with Todd, didn't have a good outing with Matt Mask, and now he's here, and now he was up, and he can win this thing. He can win that hammer, and all of a sudden now you see the confidence building up in Marcio, and Todd's getting kind of pissed off, you know, the veins coming through his forehead, you know, and all that kind of stuff, and you know, the eyebrows are flaring up. So, I mean, you know, he's about ready to do some damage. So I'm thinking, okay, now here we go. And in the way it ended was kind of like, oh, okay. That was kind of weird, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. Those guys are both so damn good.
Right.
And the contrast of styles, I actually had Marcio winning that. And it wasn't off of great information or anything. I had seen them pull in training back when Todd actually tore his left bicep pulling Marcio.
Right.
I was at that training, so I had some
inside.
Yeah, a little bit, but I knew it was just training too. I mean, I know how Todd trains, but I had Marcio winning that just for pure stylistic purpose, you know. But I was really glad to see at least go that close.
Yeah.
Because at least I think even like if you have a great guy on the other side of the table and you come like that close to winning, you can kind of walk away feeling pretty damn good about it. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you didn't get blown out.
I think even though he lost 3-2 to Todd Hutchings, I think Mario still can go, you know what? This series with Todd made up for the incomplete stuff I had in the previous 2 wall matches, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I do.
So Marshall, if you're listening, my friend, nothing you hang your head down with. You did a good job, and I was real, along with everybody else, real impressed the way you, because like I said, you were that close to taking him down. And can you imagine the hits on Facebook had Marshall won that?
Oh, man. Yeah, especially after how dominating Todd was in his last match and being on kind of a losing streak a little bit with Marcio. Yeah, I would have been so good. I mean, but even like we said, you know, even coming close to beating Todd kind of makes it almost feels like a win because Todd has just been that damn good lately. Right.
So now we got 2 matches left. Okay, so we got Matt Mask and Jerry Cataract. And I'm going to ask you a question, John. So I noticed something with Jerry. And I don't know if anybody else caught this or not, okay?
He's big. He's really big. He's very red. He's very flexible for a large man.
Right.
Anything else?
Well, what I caught, it was interesting. I don't know if anybody else caught that. And you probably did, being the enthusiast that you are. But we all know the flop wrist. This is what Jerry does. He's known for that. But remember when he pulled Devin Larratt, not counting the elbow foul victory, but the actual pin victory he had, he came inside. Match 1, what happened with Matt Mask? Jerry came inside. Not one time did his wrist ever go back. And I'm thinking, you know what? If he can come in like this, along with having that too as a backup or his go-to move, that makes a very, very interesting and scary Jerry. No point intended. But that's going to be a very interesting cataract puller.
No, yeah, my prediction for that match was, first of all, a horrible matchup for Matt, just stylistically.
Right.
Matt has a super heavyweight hand. He's just not a super heavyweight.
Right.
And unfortunately, his arm strength is a bit behind his hand. And, Jerry's just that guy. He almost wants you to top roll him, It's like, you want to top roll me? Fine. You can take that. I'm going to press you straight towards the peg, which is very, very difficult to train for. But that being said, I assumed that Jerry would beat him, but I figured they'd all be in the flop wrist. And when he kept keeping his wrist, I was like, very impressed.
Yeah.
Because I had just assumed that Matt would rip his hand open. Because Matt's top roll is just that good.
And Justin Bishop just said Jerry beats most people like that. Only elite guys takes his hand, which, you know, he has a great point, you know, but, you know, I think Matt's elite and Devin, we all know he's elite, but to beat people like this, and I'm not saying this, and Jerry's done this before, so this is not shocking news. It's just you don't see it very often. I think he beat, matter of fact, didn't he go to, you know, Connecticut or something like that earlier, and he beat, Mike Gould in a super match, and I don't think he flopped the whole time. I think he kind of went inside too. So
yeah, and Devin forced, you know, Devin's so smart. He really forced Jerry to not flop too in that match, you know. Because to be totally honest with you, Jerry, I wish he wouldn't listen sometimes to the people who hate the flop so bad, and it makes Jerry defend his hook and his, you know, his press with his wrist in. If I were Jerry and I could press everybody without my hand, I would just laugh right in their face about it. Like, you don't like it? You don't think it looks good? Like, great, go ahead. Please stop me then.
And Matt Mass is on. He said he didn't go for his hand the first two matches. He wanted to turn him in, you know, and palm up. And he went about the wrong way. He admits that. But I wonder if some of those, if you listen to Matt, I wonder if had Matt slid his elbow forward in the strap when he had control at some point, would that put more torque on Jerry to where Matt can just kind of sit there and just 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, so on? You know, I wonder how that would have ended up.
Well, I mean, I think Matt pulled him about as perfect as you could pull that move in the third round, where he took his hand and came through and pressed. That's exactly what you need to do with Jerry. It's just that's so hard to do if you're not in the center. And Jerry's very difficult to bring to the center. Once Jerry loses his hand and presses down and his forearm touches the elbow pad, which is what happens. That's what happens. That's just the way it goes. But once his forearm touches the elbow pad, it is damn near impossible to take him out of center after that point.
Yeah, he's got those big-ass shoulders. He puts 300-plus pounds on that. It's going to be a rough day.
Yeah, we talk about Todd Hutchings' side pressure, Jerry Cataret's side pressure. Plus, it's a very unique pressure because he actually pushes at you a little bit.
Well, yeah, which is why all his elbow fouls come to the front of the pad because he's coming at you. Where they're, you know, like for example, I like to, you know, I can do a flop wrist press, but I pivot my hips and my foot where I come like this because I'm a paranoid of getting a shoulder foul. Where Jerry comes at you, you know, as opposed to me, I just kind of just rotate this way and just kind of stay on my side of the table. And Jerry wants to push you on your side of the table where it's impossible for you to come back this way.
Yeah, which is like crowding and frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you're somebody who drags back into a top roll, which is most everybody in a top roll. And you drag back and you rotate and you do all these things you're supposed to do. And, like, for some reason, he's just letting you do it. And it's because he's pushing straight at you.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do you go from there? Well, you get buried in your own pad. That's what happens, you know. So I was very impressed with Matt that third round. The fourth round is, you know, he tried to do the same thing. It's just when he came to rotate through, Jerry pressed down. It was just a timing thing. Jerry drove to the pad exactly when he should have, and you know, that was it. And
you know, Matt's already saying he made a lot of mistakes. You know, he also said Jerry was a lot faster than he thought. But you know, it's easy to sit there and say that now after the fact. Yeah. It just seems like, as I was watching your match, Matt, it just seemed like match 4. It just seemed like, okay, when you have his hand in a strap like this, I wonder. Talk about angles. Had you slid your elbow forward and then come back with it, you know, now Jerry's kind of torqued because now you kind of take him out of, you know, away from his power zone where now, okay, his hand's like outside his elbow or shoulder. Now what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Matt did a great job. I really do. I think it's very easy to look back and think of all the mistakes you made. But again, if you've never experienced that before, it's really tough to train for it. And there's so many unknowns. And if you pick the wrong thing the first time, it can kind of feel like a nightmare. But I think Matt did a great job.
But that's why we love this sport. You pick, you learn it. You know, he can watch it on YouTube forever and ever and go, okay, if we meet up again, I'm going to cut him differently. So
yeah, Matt understands a couple more things now, I think, you know?
Exactly. Okay, here we go. The main event. The build-up was crazy. And I thought the build-up between Matt Mask and Devin Ware was good. although it was kind of one-sided, but now I sat there and told everybody out there, I said, look, here's the deal. If Devin thinks he's going to go in there and play mind games with Michael Todd will oblige him, okay? And I think I keep telling everybody I was one of the 15% that actually had Michael Todd winning. And I got a lot of flack. I got a lot of flack for it, John. I mean, I got people texting me, you're crazy. I got people messaging me saying, oh, you are so lucky you're not putting money on it, this, that, and the other. And, I just said styles make matches. And I sat there and said, to know Michael Todd, and I've always said this, you got to know history, okay? And let's talk about history for a second. He's beaten everybody there is to, in this sport. He's won every world title in every organization there is, okay? But there was one thing he hasn't done, and that's beaten beaten Devin Larratt. They've had 2 Arm Wars matches before, okay? The first one, I think it might have been left-handed. Devin won 6-0. The last time everyone talks about, it was 4-2. And I'm thinking, okay, here's the deal. And Rebecca says you should have put money on it. Yeah, I'd be sitting up here with thousands of dollars in my pocket, Rebecca. Yeah, see?
He would have flown me out for this podcast.
Oh, hell yeah. I would have did ArmTalk right in the fucking hallway or live, So, and I sat there, so Michael Todd, when he trains, he thinks about stuff he should have done the first time around that he didn't do. And he can't wait to get back on the table, okay? And, this goes back to your comment, what you just said about if Jerry stopped listening to other people about styles. Okay, here we go. The King's move. Everyone hates it. Well, you know what? It's no different than, what's Devin's freedom arm? I think someone's going to snap an elbow one of these days on the freedom pull. No one says shit about that. But, case in point, Devin has said nothing negative about the King's move. There's guys that do it all over, and I think you and I have had conversations before where Crazy George is the man of the King's move. It's just everybody else has it. What's that?
He's the only one that does it.
Right, but everybody has a variation of it.
Yep.
And I've talked to Lori Cole on the phone. We've discussed that, in the 80s, hell, if you top rolled, it was like, what are you doing? Why are you running? That kind of thing. If you try to top roll, people give you a foul because you're trying to top roll it, stay in the hook. So, there's something to be said about that. And I've always said the more styles you have within the rules, the better. You'll get more people to come out because not everybody can hook. I know I can't. Unless someone puts me there, then fine. But I can't really hook. So I got to, do something else that fits my style, my frame, whatever. So anyway, aside from all the people climbing the table and all that kind of stuff, what was your take from that?
Well, yeah, I agree with the King's move thing. Listen, people can do it. It's within the rules. It is, whether people want to admit it or not, it is within the rules. And it's very beatable. That's number one. It is a very beatable move. My thoughts on the match, I listened to what Devin said after the match, which I thought was very good of Devin, which is basically he said, I got a lot of work to do. Great job, Michael, all that stuff. And then I watched Neil Pickup's interview with Devin, too, on YouTube, which I thought was very good, but I think Devin's right and I think Devin's wrong.
Okay.
Devin said, that he kind of lost focus of, the fundamentals and a lot of this, the foundation of what makes an athlete, that he gassed out, which is very, shocking to hear of with Devin and gassed out in the same sentence.
Right.
But I think Devin just made some very basic mistakes. I think there was just a bunch of little mistakes that ended up being a big debt. I think that's what it was. I think Devin's hand isn't quite what it used to be.
Right.
Whether that's from neglect or from his surgery. Because Devin couldn't keep his post in his wrist, not his post in his bicep, but his post in his wrist. He couldn't keep it.
Right.
His hand kept falling. And it's really, really hard when somebody's in that King's move where they're really, really wrenching on that strap. If you can't, it's very tough to lose your wrist downward and then raise it back up.
Yeah.
It's too small of a muscle group. It's really good at locking. I can lock that all day, but if I lose it, it's probably gonna stay that way. And he couldn't maintain it.
Here's my thing, and this goes back, to piggyback on what you said about it's a beatable move. It is. but you got to be patient. For some reason, people are so in a fucking hurry to win because as soon as someone drops to the table and have their armor exposed, you're thinking, oh, well, he has no strength there. I can go ahead and beat that. You got to be patient.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to win, I mean, just look at some of the matches he's had before using that move. I mean, go look at Gasparini. You know, his first 2 wins, you know, he beat him. You know, I mean, check it out. But, you know, I know Michael's gotten stronger since then. He's gotten better, his stamina. I mean, it's something to be said, you know, with that stamina. Dave Morocco says Devin's trying to press Michael on the side of the table. It's like trying to break a door down, attacking the hinge side. Not, you know, happening ever. And I understand that. And I think what needs to be said is that, you know, and to this day, even after that, everybody's, you know, oh, Michael Todd, he's a disgrace to arm wrestling. I'm like, dude.
No, absolutely not.
If you find a move that works for you within the rules, why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah, well, it's just ridiculous. Michael Todd's done so much in the sport. To say he's a disgrace to anything is crazy.
But I will say this. If you notice in match 4, you know, Michael Todd does this old school arm roll shoulder press, back the old Michael Todd. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So for all you,
wait a minute, what?
Right.
He was super pinned.
So for all you Michael Todd haters out there, he pulled out a shoulder press. It was fast. That was the old Michael Todd. So for all you guys out there that just bang on him and stuff, hey, there was a victory that had nothing to do with, you know, a King's move. But, you know, say what you want, you know. He's the champ. Devin had to eat crow, you know. I never thought that Devin would actually climb a table to actually press him down. I thought it was just weird because I'm thinking, you know, Devin would never, I don't want to say stoop to that level, but you would think Devin being the mastermind, you know, being the cerebral assassin that he is, that showed me he panicked a little bit. Yeah. When you got to climb a table to beat somebody, that tells me, okay, now you're panicking.
Out of options. The guy who has all the options was out.
Right.
You know, what was interesting to me was because the Michael Todd and endurance thing, it's yes and no with that.
Right.
You know, he is using his bone structure quite a bit. So you're kind of, he's being very efficient, but it's efficiency outside of muscle fiber. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, in the meanwhile, Devin's using all muscle in order to try to combat this thing, and his hand's just not cooperating. And what that leads to is it's a really bad efficiency on Devin's part, and he has to go to the flop wrist press the first match. Which, that's bad news, man.
Yeah.
It's really tough to maintain over the next couple rounds. Plus, and here's another thing, and it's actually it's a bit of a reflection on WAL itself. So, do they get 2 minutes or a minute and a half in between rounds? Which one is it?
I thought it was a minute and a half.
Okay, so we'll just go with that. They get a minute and a half in between rounds. Why are we allowing athletes to come back to the table before that? Why did we allow this to start happening?
Maybe because you know they don't have enough to talk about. I guess I don't know, between matches. I mean,
because if you're watching a boxing match or a UFC fight, it's a minute in between rounds. And if they say, no, we're ready now, they say, no, you sit back down in your corner. We'll tell you when to come out.
Right.
The referee dictates all of that. And Devin made a gigantic mistake by getting back up there as fast as he could because I think he wanted to be the boss of every single moment in that match, which is that's a high gamble.
Yeah.
And it's one that could have paid off, and I understand why he would have done that. But when you're using muscle fiber and muscle groups and all that, and the other guy's using his bones, you got to take whatever time you can get. And he really should have been trying to buy even more time than he got. Instead of just running back to the table after 15 seconds. It's like, you know, yes, you're the guy who never burns out, but dude, I mean, if I go and press against, I have really good endurance. If I go press against that wall for long enough, I'm going to get tired.
Well, yeah, and
wall's not doing anything back.
What's weird is that, you know, and like I said, it was just weird because we know Devin as the guy that has all the stamina. And I always talk about, at least one of the things I like about WAL is that after each match, you know, you have somebody in your corner. Devin really never had anybody in his corner. I mean, unless it was Ian Carnegie or whatnot. Other than that, it was, it was Jody, his wife. Todd walks over there, Monster. He has Dave Chafee in his ear, not in a bad way, but just kind of, hey, good job out there, that kind of thing. So, of course, that's giving him confidence, I would imagine. And, it's just, I look at it as like, you know what? Devin really had to work. I don't care what anybody said, because usually when Devin loses a match, all the feedback I heard was like, oh, Devin's human. No, Devin just let him win to make it look good, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, shit.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking, come on, man. I mean, for once, people need to realize that even now, Devin being, the most prolific arm wrestler there is right now, he's human. Michael Todd, he's human. It happens. I just think that people are so afraid to admit that, hey, Michael Todd's the man now. People don't want to say it. I'll fucking say it. He's the fucking man right now. He proved it time and time again. Yeah, he lost to Jerry Caderet, and everyone's bitching and complaining about, well, Jerry should have been in there. Well, yeah, did we really want to see another Jerry Caderet Devin when Devin already beat him once? So it's kind of like, no, we want to see this over and over again. Michael Todd was just counting down the days. He's on his rope pulling machine. He's doing his workouts, and I'm saying he came mentally and physically prepared. Not saying Devin did it. It's just I think Devin, maybe he would have been yelling crack left and right, maybe it might have went in his favor. I don't know, but I can just tell it was just like, okay, after that first match and, Devin won, Michael's like, okay, it's on now, stopped him, pinned him, did a little old school arm horse pin, and Devin was like, okay, now I have to really dig deep. And when you're almost there, you still can't get him, and you got to put your knee on the damn, pin pad on the opposite side just to pin somebody, and hey, as long as you got 1 foot on the ground, it's still legal. So yeah, but it was uncharacteristic of Devin to do all that. So I'm not sure, where we go from there. I was like, who bled out who the most? Is I guess that'd be the question.
Yeah, man, over the years, it's been really hard to argue who the hell has more heart than Michael Todd.
Right.
It's just the way it is. And if you talk to guys who have a lot of heart, Devin has a lot of heart. Devin's a fighter, man. Devin is not just some gifted guy who gets through on his physicality. He's got his mental toughness and mental game is very good. And he's one of the guys who always says, I don't think anybody wants to win more than me, but I think Michael might want to.
Right.
And people just don't understand. Maybe it's a lack of education in the sport, but people don't understand what Michael's been through in the sport in terms of injuries and what he's done with his body over the years, and that he's still out there doing it is crazy. And to think that because he does this move that people beat all the time, no offense, Michael, but it's not like you go, you haven't gone the last 2 years undefeated or anything. You take losses like everybody else. To think that he's a disgrace because he uses this King's move is kind of insane to me, and it's people speaking way out of line.
Well, here's another thing why I picked Michael Todd to win, and I think he's still online, and maybe Rebecca too, and correct me, you two, if I'm wrong. For the last X amount of years, all you heard was who's the best in the world, and everyone said Devin. Even when Devin took time off, because, he had to recover from shoulder surgery, or not shoulder, but I think it was elbow surgery or something like that. And even though Devin wasn't really active for that shorter period of time, everyone said, well, Devin's the best. Or if it wasn't Devin, it was Travis. Or if it wasn't Travis, it was Dave Chafee. And everybody always overlooked Michael Todd. And I think at some point, it kind of stuck with him. He probably used that as motivation. And just like you said, we've seen Michael Todd come back from so many. The guy went in there with a jacked up pec one year to Zlotty. Deadlifting, bench pressing, had a torn pec, whatever, and he still pulled. And I think he still took 7th place or whatnot. But it's like, he finally, and again, I guess the key word in WAL 406 was validation. So he finally validated, like, you know what? I can truly say I'm the best now. Because I've beaten the best. You guys have been putting this guy on a pedestal, as he should, for X amount of years, but Michael was always an afterthought. And so I thought by him, using as motivation, maybe gave him that extra advantage to win, Because
no doubt about it.
Because when that last match happened and he actually pressed down, and to see David's arm go like that, and I saw the reaction of the crowd, it was like, wow, like a lot of people were shocked. And then a lot of people are like going, fuck yeah. So, and maybe I might be out of line for saying that, but I always thought that Michael Todd might have used that, as a, motivation.
No, I think Devin even said it in his interview with Neil that the hungry dog gets the bone, man.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it goes. That's the way this whole thing goes. And the thing is, it's so trivial what we're competing over.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people need to really understand. Is that the only thing Michael really won, and it means nothing and it means everything at the same time. He was the best guy on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
That's it. But what else could you ever want? But that's all it is. It's all any kind of tournament is, and whether it's nationals, whether it's worlds, whether it's anything like that. You're the best guy on that day. And it means that little and it means that much. And
right.
It means a whole hell of a lot. But you know what? Those guys woke up the next day and they were Michael Todd and they were Devin Larratt.
Yeah. I mean,
same guys they were before.
Right. And Michael Todd was like, hey, I won this. Yeah, but, well, I won the UAL. Yeah, but it was always the yeah, but.
Always gonna be too.
Right.
Always gonna be.
But here's the thing now. So now that's all said and done, Michael has a target on his back for next year. I'm sure that's not gonna, no skin off his teeth. But
he loves it.
Right. What's in store for him? Because we know come November, Devin has a date with Denis Saplinkoff, but that's left-handed. So where does Michael Todd go from now?
Well, I think if they continue this whole storyline, I think at some point him and Dave Chafee have a date.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's bad news for Dave if it's been, the same old history line.
Yeah, whether it be the CrossFit Games, whether it be the last WAL before it kind of went underground for a little bit, Todd came out in both victories.
You might have a reversal in roles here who the hungry dog is, you know what I mean? Like, Dave wants to get that back, so.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I think there's plenty of places to go. I think that the WL just needs to come up with a plan. And I think they have to let the people know this is what we want to do and this is what we're looking at. And here's the ranking. And even if it's kind of an arbitrary ranking, it's not necessarily 100% accurate, you need to start somewhere and then you can kind of sort through it.
Yeah. And, as far as the rankings go, and that's probably a bad thing to say because that always, it creates water cooler talk, but it also pisses people off because let's say you have a top 10, right? I'm just, painting a picture here. You have a top 10, but 6 through 10 constantly pulls, but the top 5 don't. But in your heart that they're the top 5 for a reason, but they're not active. Why do you still have them up there where 6 through 10 are just constantly kicking ass? You know what I'm saying? I always thought it was almost like the BCS where it's like, how the hell do you come up with these matchups? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why, I always feel like the top guy should defend.
Yeah.
I think they should be busy guys. I do. Unfortunately, that doesn't usually happen.
Right.
Unfortunately, also, there's not a whole lot of money in the sport. And if the WAL doesn't kind of figure out where they actually want their audience to be from,
right,
I think they're going to be around long. Because, and nothing against them, because, I watched those matches, I watched those events. I'll never pull WAL, ever.
Right.
Ever. But I watch them and I'm entertained. So that I get my money's worth, which is $0. But I get my enjoyment out of it. But they kind of need to decide what do you want to do, guys? Because there needs to be some kind of audience that brings in some kind of revenue.
Right.
And saying that you're the place to be in terms of a sport and clearly not being that, just in terms of rules and structure and professionalism, and then also having the sports entertainment side of it, but never really going into the sports entertainment side, you're alienating both sides of the audience.
Right. Let's be honest. Michael Todd, Devin Larratt, entertaining. Travis Bajan, entertaining. Don Underwood, entertaining. But, if you're going to bring those kind of characters, and I'm not saying those are bad characters, then you do kind of sacrifice some of the structure of arm wrestling, in my opinion, because unless you're an actual puller, who's going to sit through a tournament like that without any kind of action? You know what I mean?
No, yeah. What the thing is that the integrity of the sport itself only has to be maintained once the ref sets you up and says go.
Right.
That's the only time. The stuff outside of it, the videos and the shit talk and all this stuff can still continue to happen. But when those guys step up to the table and the referee takes control, it has to be a sport.
Right.
It has to be a 100% regulated sport to the best of the rules' ability. If it's not that, we are not the sport anymore.
Right.
It's a very hard line in the sand. There is no ifs or buts about that. And if you don't dedicate to that, then you're dedicating to the other side. Now, there's nothing wrong with dedicating to the other side of it, but you just have to admit it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, I watch it and I'm entertained as shit. I will never participate in it, but I like watching it. You know what? I like Stone Cold beating up The Rock, too.
Well, I'm a Rock fan, so okay. I see you on that one. And, you know, for me, I never pulled an actual WO. Let me rephrase that. I've held qualifiers here in town in Oregon, and I reffed them, directed them, pulled them, but those were qualifiers. They weren't like the ones in Vegas or anything. But reason why I don't pull them for two reasons. One, I know I'm a realist. I know deep down I'm not on that level yet. You know, and, you know, my goal, and I'm 42 years old, so my goals are a little bit different. You know, I'm still chasing that national title in the Master Division and wanting to go to, you know, Worlds, that kind of stuff. That's where my goal is. So anybody who wants to pull, you know, WAL, it all depends on, well, what's your goal? Is your goal just to be on TV or to win that cash? I mean, when WAL first came out, and it was 10 grand, right? And I think, Lori, that might answer your question. I think it was 10 grand. I'm not sure. But and then what was it, the second year or third year where it was 20 grand for first place, right? And, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this to arm wrestle. I'm like, dude, arm wrestling doesn't pay the bills because you can't count on that on a monthly. Bills to me are something that happens monthly. WL is not monthly. Not with that kind of cash. Not monthly. So, you know, again, yeah, if you want to do it just to, you know, hey, I made a little money here and there, fine. But, you know, if you're relying on that, that's where people get in trouble, you know. That's like with UAL. When they first came out with their contracts and all that kind of stuff, everyone wanted to be, you know, in the money hunt, super matches, all the glitz and glamour and pyro and all that kind of stuff. And it ended up shutting down because you put so much money in there, at some point, you know, it's going to drain it dry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just tough to play both sides because you end up shutting out both sides in the end.
Right.
You don't get, the whole goal is to kind of get everybody involved. What happens is you get nobody involved because one sees the other side and then the other side sees the other side and neither one of them want to see it anymore. Because trust me, I mean, I want to see it succeed. I really do.
Yeah.
I never want to participate. I want it to succeed so we can get some eyes on the stuff that I do want to succeed.
Right.
You know, because it's just a platform. It's all it is. But I just, like, some of these little mistakes, I can't see how the second floor at WAL doesn't see these things. It seems so obvious that you have to tighten this up or you have to completely let it go. It's one of the two.
And, you know, you're hoping that, okay, now that the season's done, you know, there's always questions. Okay, what's in store for next year? Well, you got to, you know, get to the bottom of the barrel first and go, okay, what do we need to fix first? You know, is WL going to be the 500 series next year? Will it feature left-handed pullers? Will it feature, you know, some new blood, or is it going to recycle the same, you know, guys over and over? You know what I mean?
You got to put some new people in there, and you got to put, I think you kind of have to go left-hand too.
Yeah, because then when you bring left-handed people, then it brings up a whole new, you know, flock of guys. Then you might see the Mike Goulds of the world, or Sean Latimers, you know, Daniel Worley, you know, people like Carl Stanley. You know, you start seeing some of the left-hand people, Eric Waffel. So I'm just naming it, Robbie Topi. So I'm naming off all these left-handers now, Jeff Dobb, that kind of thing. So when you open the door for left-handed people, then all of a sudden you bring all, you know, a whole flock of new people, you know, not so much characters, but new, you know, kind of pullers and styles and something you may want to see. So.
No, for sure. And there's so many, Like, it's not, it's not 1980 anymore. There's some seriously talented left-handed guys out there, so, yeah.
Oh, I got one question. I don't know if you know or know. Is there like a, and I hate to say this for the ladies, but like a weight restriction? I'm just curious. Because we got some heavyweights out there that's missing the boat. I only say this because a good friend of mine, I train with her from time to time, and because she's not, the petite, woman arm wrestler,
Sure.
because the Arnolds are like, hey, you can only cap out 176 pounds, and yet, okay, if you do that, then you won't bring in Heidi Kortner of the world and stuff like that, Kathy Merle, that kind of thing. You don't, get those kind of pullers, and they're good pullers. But, that's just beating a dead horse. But I'm just kind of wondering, does WAL have something like that? I'm just kind of curious,
I don't think so. I don't think they do.
Good. I mean, that way we can see, different style pullers, because I would like to see, like I said, next year, Sarah, Rotunda is in there. I'd like to see some more women pullers. We saw Valley Beach one time, Angelina one time, Faria one time, and you want to see more of them, So like I said, hopefully they'll open the door more. Maybe you'll have 2 women matches per card next year. I don't know. I'm just speculating too.
No, yeah, especially like with the quality of arm wrestling you got at that Battle Royal. I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, you got to invite them. You have to. It was so good.
Nice. Well, John, I think that might wraps it up because, hell, we've been on here for a long time now, and I hope people didn't get bored out there. So I want to thank you for being on the show, and hey, it was my pleasure, my friend.
Yes, sir. A lot of fun.
So hopefully, yes, I think someone said, can this be put on YouTube? And you say with my permission, yes, put it on YouTube. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, I'll upload it to the Hand Control YouTube for you.
Sweet. For all you guys out there, it's been nice. And like I always say, until next time, see ya when I see ya.
Peace.